You know that you have a built-in biological brake pedal for stress? Today we're talking about the vagus nerve, what it is, why it controls so much of your mental and physical health, and the simple everyday practices that help you activate it. No expensive programs, no long routines, just your own breath, your voice, and your body doing what it was always designed to do. And how powerful is that? This podcast is about simple changes to create more calm and peace in your life. You don't have to feel overwhelmed and overhaul your whole life all at once. To get to your better life, make small changes and begin to live it. Welcome back, my friends, or welcome for the first time. Either way, I'm so glad you're here. So settle in, take a breath, and actually, that breath you just took, that's going to become really relevant in just a few minutes because today we're talking about something that I've just been learning about that controls so much of our lives, yet we don't even realize how much we have control of it. It's something that lives inside your body right now that has been there your entire life, quietly doing really cool things, and something that once you understand it, it's going to completely change how you think about stress, anxiety, calm, connection, and your own ability to heal. We're talking about the vagus nerve. What? I know, right? I bet y'all woke up this morning thinking, dang, I really wish I knew about that vagus nerve. But stay with me for a bit. I promise it will be worth it. Now, I know this sounds like something from a biology textbook, but stay with me because I promise you this is one of the most practical, useful, immediately applicable, genuine, life-changing things you can learn about yourself. And the best part, once you understand what the vagus nerve is and what it does, you're going to realize that you already have more power over your own nervous system, your own mental health, your own sense of peace and calm than you may have ever been told. So let's talk about this in a way that actually makes sense, that you can take into your real everyday life and start making immediate changes today. So let's start at the beginning because I want to really understand what we're working with here. The vagus nerve is the longest and most complex nerve in your entire body. It runs from your brain stem, the very base of your brain, all the way down through your neck, your chest, and into your abdomen, branching out along the way to connect with your heart, your lungs, your diaphragm, your stomach, your intestines, and a whole network of other organs. It's like this incredible information superhighway running through the center of you, constantly sending signals back and forth between your brain and your body. I mean, just that thought of this one nerve running through your body like that, it's just so cool, right? So when you're thinking, man, you are working my last nerve right now, well, that might actually be partially true. Maybe not your last nerve, but the most important one. But the coolest thing of all is that while this nerve is automatic in so many ways and does so much, what's really amazing is that you have even more control. Name vagus actually comes from the Latin word for wandering, and that is exactly what this nerve does. It wanders through your entire body, touching almost every major system along the way. Some researchers and doctors actually call it the wandering nerve, and there is something almost poetic about this. It's a long, winding, wandering nerve that connects so much of who you are from the inside out. And now here's the part that's the most important, is that the vagus nerve is the primary component of what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And we've talked about that many times before. You may have heard of the fight or flight response. That's the sympathetic nervous system kicking in when your brain receives a threat. It floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline. It raises your heart rate, tenses your muscles. It sharpens your focus and zooms into the danger in front of you. That system is incredibly important and has kept humans alive for hundreds of thousands of years. But that's only half the story. The other half is the parasympathetic nervous system, and the vagus nerve is its main messenger. This is the rest and digest system. This is the part of you that calms things back down after stress, slows your heart rate, and deepens your breathing. It allows your digestion and your immune system to work properly, your body to repair itself, your mind to feel safe enough to be creative and connected and present. And if the fight or flight system is the gas pedal, the vagus nerve is the brake. And in the world that most of us are living today, with its constant noise and notifications and pressures and pace, well, most of us are driving with the pedal to the floor and almost no access to the brake. Understanding the vagus nerve means understanding that the brake exists and that you can actually learn to use it. So here's where things get really fascinating, honestly, a little bit mind blowing, because the vagus nerve doesn't just affect how calm and stressed you feel in a given moment. The health of your vagus nerve, what researchers call the vagal tone, has been linked to almost every part of your well being, both for your physical and mental health. So let's start with mental health because so many of us need to work on this area. Research has shown that people with higher vagal tone, meaning their vagus nerve is strong and responsive and doing its job well, tend to experience lower levels of anxiety and depression. They recover more quickly from stressful events, and they have a greater capacity for emotional regulation, meaning they can feel big feelings without being completely hijacked by them. They tend to experience more positive emotions overall, not because their lives are necessarily easier, but because their nervous system has become more flexible, more resilient. It has more ability to move between states of activation and calm. And on the physical side, good vagal tone has been associated with healthier heart rate variability, which is one of the strongest predictors of cardiovascular health that we have. It's been linked to better digestion and reduced inflammation throughout the body. It plays a significant role in immune health, how well we sleep, and it influences how we experience pain. There is even research exploring the connection between vagal tone and conditions like autoimmune disorders and migraines and chronic fatigue. And then there's even the connection between the vagus nerve and our social lives. Dr. Stephen Porges, a neuroscientist who developed what's called polyvagal theory, discovered that the vagus nerve plays a central role in our capacity for social connection. It's part of what helps us read other people's facial expressions and tone of voice. It influences whether we feel safe enough to be vulnerable and open and honest with others, or whether we feel like we need to be guarded and defended. It literally shapes our ability and how well we connect with other humans more deeply. So when we talk about the vagus nerve, we're not just talking about some part of our body. We're talking about something that influences your mood, your health, your relationships, your resilience, your capacity for joy, and your ability to feel safe in your own body and in the world. It is, without exaggeration, one of the most important things happening inside of you right now, and most of us have probably never even heard of it. Now, what you probably have heard of is the phrase gut feeling, and you've probably used it yourself. And it turns out that this phrase is far more literally true than most people realize. About 80 to 90% of the fibers in the vagus nerves are actually afferent, which means they carry information from the body up to the brain, not just from the brain down to the body. Your gut is constantly sending signals to your brain through this nerve. Your gut actually contains somewhere around 100 million neurons, more neurons than your spinal cord, and it produces the vast majority of your body's serotonin, the neurotransmitter most associated with mood and emotional well-being. And this means that the state of your gut, what you eat, how your digestion is working, the health of your gut microbiome, is in constant real-time communication with your brain through the vagus nerve. So when people say they feel anxiety in their stomach or that stress upsets their digestion, and you get the nervous poops, as I call them, or they get a bad feeling in their gut about something, it's not just a metaphor. That's actually the vagus nerve doing its job, translating the body's experience into information the brain can use. And many times this happens without you even realizing it. And it also means that taking care of your gut is taking care of your mental health in a very real physiological way. What you eat, whether it's good, close to the ground and healthy, or if it's fast food and processed, it matters. How you eat, whether you eat slowly or standing over the sink rushing, all of it feeds back through this extraordinary nerve into your emotional and mental experience of life. Your body is so much smarter and more integrated than we give it credit for. And that vagus nerve is one of the main reasons why. And so when you hear you are what you eat, that's also why. So now you may be thinking, okay, this is cool, Shirley, but what do I actually do with it? Well, I won't leave you hanging. Most of your nervous system is autonomic, meaning it runs quietly in the background, like keeping your heart beating and your lungs breathing without you having to consciously manage it. But the vagus nerve is actually partially under your control. which means you can intentionally influence it and deliberately activate it. You can, with very simple and very accessible practices, begin to strengthen your vagal tone over time and shift your nervous system toward more calm, more resilience, and more peace. You don't need a prescription, an expensive program, a perfect diet, or hours of free time that you don't have. You need the information, you need a little bit of willingness to try, and you already have both of those things because you're here. So let's talk about what actually works. The single most powerful and immediate tool you have for activating the vagus nerve is your breath, specifically slow, deep, extended exhale breathing. Your heart rate naturally speeds up slightly when you inhale, but it slows down when you exhale. And the vagus nerve is responsible for that slowing on the exhale. So when you consciously make your exhale longer than your inhale, you're directly stimulating the vagus nerve and activating your parasympathetic nervous system. You're using your own breath as a biological switch that moves you from stress to calm. Now, a simple practice you can start right now is to breathe in for a count of 4 and then breathe out for a count of 6 or 8. That's it. Just longer out than in. Even 5 minutes of this kind of breathing has been shown in research to reduce heart rate, lower cortisol levels, and shift the nervous system toward a calmer state. You can do this in your car before you walk into a difficult meeting. You can do it in bed when your mind won't quiet down at night. You can do it in the bathroom at a party when you need a moment to reset. It's always available to you, completely free, and it works every single time. Another thing is humming, singing, and chanting. It's another beautiful way to stimulate the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve runs through your vocal cords and the muscles at the back of your throat. So when you create vibration there through humming, singing, or chanting, you're directly activating it. And this is one of the reasons that singing in the choir has been shown to have profound effects on mental health and well-being. It's one of the reasons that monks chant. It's not just the community and the joy of music, although those matter too. It's the literal vibration stimulating the vagus nerve of every person in that room simultaneously. So hum while you do the dishes. Sing in the shower or the car. Let your voice make sound because that sound is healing you in such an easy and beautiful way. Cold water exposure is another really effective vagus nerve stimulator, and you don't have to take an icy bath. Simply splashing cold water on your face, or just at the end of your shower, add some cool water. It's enough to trigger what's called the dive reflex, a physiological response that activates the vagus nerve and rapidly slows the heart rate. It sounds almost too simple to work, but the research shows it to be really effective. So the next time you feel anxious or overwhelmed, or like your nervous system is running at full speed, try splashing cold water on your face and just notice what happens. It's fast, it's free, and it works. Gentle movement, especially yoga, stretching, or walking in nature, has been shown to improve vagal tone over time. And it's partly because of the deep breathing that these activities encourage, but partly because of the effect of physical movement on the body's stress response systems overall. And you don't need an intense workout. In fact, for many people whose nervous systems are already in a state of chronic overwhelm, gentler movement is actually more beneficial than high-intensity exercise, which can sometimes just add more stress to an already stressed system. A slow walk outside, especially somewhere green or near water, it's one of the kindest things that you can do for your vagus nerve and your overall sense of peace. And then there's connection, real, warm, genuine human connection. Laughter helps, eye contact with someone you trust, a hug that lasts long enough to actually feel it. And researchers have suggested about 20 seconds for a hug to trigger the kind of oxytocin release that genuinely calms the nervous system. Now, maybe you don't want to hug Aunt Martha for 20 seconds, but maybe extend it a little bit for your partner or your best friend. These social experiences activate the vagus nerve and signal to your entire nervous system that you're safe, that you're not alone, that the world is not a threat right now. And isn't that how we all want to feel, really? Dr. Porges' polyvagal theory tells us that social safety is not just emotionally important, it's physiologically regulating. We literally calm each other's nervous systems when we are genuinely present with each other, which means that reaching out when you're struggling, choosing connection over isolation, it's not just emotionally healthy, it's biologically healthy. So if that's you right now, as you listen, stop thinking that you're a burden and just reach out to someone. Now, as we always talk about with these small changes, they can give you immediate relief in a moment of stress or anxiety, but the real magic happens when they become part of your regular life, when they're consistent and purposeful. Because vagal tone, like muscle tone, it's something that builds with consistent practice over time. The more regularly you engage your vagus nerve through these kinds of practices, the more responsive and resilient your nervous system becomes. The more quickly it can shift from activation back to calm, and you can better handle stress without being overwhelmed by it. The more your baseline state moves, gradually and gently, towards peace. And this doesn't have to be complicated or time consuming. It doesn't require a perfectly structured wellness routine or an hour of meditation every morning. It can be as simple as taking 3 slow, extended exhale breaths before you get out of bed in the morning, humming softly while you make your coffee, ending your shower with a splash of cool water, taking a 10-minute walk outside at lunch, or calling a friend and really listening to their voice. These small, gentle changes in your day are enough, and in fact, exactly how lasting change in the nervous system is built. And as you do these things, I want you to notice what happens. Notice whether you feel slightly calmer after a few deep breaths. Your shoulders drop a little when you spend time in nature. Notice when you feel more settled after a genuine conversation with someone you love. Let your own experience be the evidence. Let your own body teach you what it needs and what helps. Because here is what I want most for you to take away from everything we've talked about today. You are not at the mercy of your stress. You're not simply a passenger in your own nervous system being taken wherever anxiety and overwhelm decide to drive you. You have a biological brake pedal that is always available to you, built right into the architecture of your own body, just waiting for you to use it. The vagus nerve is not something you have to earn access to or work hard to develop from scratch. It's always there, always has been. You were born with this extraordinary capacity for calm and resilience and connection wired right into you. And all we're doing with these simple practices is learning how to use what was always ours. Don't I wish I learned this as a kid? But hey, it's never too late, right? So here we are at the end of our time together today, and I hope you're leaving this conversation feeling something, maybe a little more hopeful, a little more curious about your own body and what it's capable of, maybe a little more empowered, knowing that peace is not something that only happens when things are going well. It's something that you can actively grow from the inside out, starting right now. So what's one easy, free change that you'll make today? Pick just one from what we talked about today, just one. Maybe it's the extended exhale breathing. Maybe it's humming while you're just doing something around the house. Maybe it's a cold splash on your face in the morning. Maybe it's texting someone that you love. Whatever feels most accessible to you, try it. Try it once, then try it again tomorrow, and notice the shift. You don't have to overhaul everything. You don't have to be perfect about it. You just have to be willing to try a little bit today, because your nervous system is listening, your vagus nerve is ready, and your power for peace is so much stronger and available than you may have ever known. Thank you so much for being here today. Take good care of that beautiful wandering nerve of yours. And if this episode was helpful and informative, or as I think, just really darn cool, please share it with someone so they can see how easy it can be to gain some power in their calm. So breathe out fully, hum a little song, give someone a nice long hug as you grow that vagal nerve into your own powerhouse, little by little and piece by piece. This podcast is based on my own life experiences. I'm not a therapist, a psychologist, psychiatrist, or any other licensed medical professional.
Please share this podcast with anyone you think needs to hear this so that we all move forward, little by little and piece by piece. And thank you, Purple Planet, for sharing your music.
And please hit the follow or subscribe button. It really does help.